I feel like Hypnospace Outlaw is one of those games with a relatively niche appeal, which will nonetheless make its target audience incredibly excited. If the idea of playing detective on GeoCity-like pages of the late 90s internet sounds like a fun, nostalgic trip to you, then I recommend you stop this review now and go in as blind as possible. If that's not enough to get you interested though, let me explain why this is one of my games of the year. You may have noticed an interesting trend over the last few years in the way games attempt to make you feel like a detective. A decade or two ago, there were plenty of games that attempted to elicit the feel of investigation by replicating the kinds of activities a detective might do, such as collecting clues, interviewing witnesses, and following leads to progress a story. The problem with this sort of gameplay is that it can very easily feel like you're being pulled from plot point to plot point along a linear path without actually using any of your own skills of deduction and reasoning. You might be doing the things a detective does, but you aren't feeling like one. To actually replicate the feeling of personal investigation, games frequently have to place arbitrary and contrived limitations on your actions, and we've seen a stack of games lately which do this in very clever ways. Think Her Story, where you sift through video interviews, searching only through words that you hear within the tapes. Or Return of the Obra Dinn, where you use a magical pocket watch to explore vignettes at the moment of someone's death. Or one of my personal favourites, Tacoma, where corruption to a space station's recording facilities mean you only witness short, out-of-order scenes of the crew's life played back in augmented reality. In none of these games are you acting as a traditional detective, but by piecing together evidence and coming to your own conclusions, you feel like one, far more than in traditional investigative adventure games. Hypnospace Outlaw is a detective game in this modern vein. In it, you are a hypnospace enforcer, tasked with finding content violations on Hypnospace, a simulacrum of early internet spaces, which users browse in their sleep using proprietary headbands. Some of the surface-level gameplay feels a bit similar to courtroom scenes in Phoenix Wright, since you'll be perusing pages looking for contradictions with your established set of rules. Things quickly go much deeper than that, however. There's a lot of pages on Hypnospace which are only accessible through search tags, and to find some pages will require a bit of puzzle solving. Like in Her Story, there's a huge sense of gratification in finding something new, even if those discoveries don't further the plot, because it always feels like you're being rewarded for paying attention and figuring things out. Hypnospace Outlaw does feature a deeper, linear story though, one that took me about 10 hours to get through, which touches on plenty of interesting themes. Issues of free speech and harassment in the digital age, the ethics of copyright and file sharing, and even a slight examination of toxicity in tech culture. While it's a story that could only exist in the 90s, it feels emotionally resonant with many of the issues afflicting modern social media. In the course of progressing this story, you'll explore lots of different Hypnospace subcultures, and I feel like it's in these explorations that the game really shines. A few pages may feel like they're straying a bit hard into pure parody, but for the most part, this feels like an extremely authentic depiction of early internet culture. Be prepared for embedded MIDIs, baffling font choices, and animated GIFs as far as the eye can see. While the visual design is probably the most striking part of Hypnospace, the writing here is top-notch too, and shows a deep understanding of internet vernacular. There's a unique literary voice present for every Hypnospace citizen, and the wide variety of writing styles conveys a lot of depth. These pages aren't static either. It's gratifying to see them change over multiple days as users respond to current events and interact with each other. The extensive array of side stories, which range from funny to poignant to cringeworthy, are definitely going to be what I remember most fondly from my time in Hypnospace. This game is both a love letter to a bygone age and a unique, cerebrally satisfying experience, the likes of which you won't find anywhere else. If you have fond memories of GeoCities fan pages, or even if you're just curious about this Wild West era of the internet, you'll find Hypnospace Outlaw to be a compelling work which is well deserving of your time. Thanks for watching. If this is your first time to my channel, please consider subscribing to see more of these discussions in the future. I also make a whole bunch of covers of video game music, so if that's your thing, you can check that out with the cards on screen now. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you soon.